today is supposed to be the day that the jab mandates are coming into place, and on Friday, the Supreme Court of the United States heard two of the three different branches that would be affected by these mandates. Okay, not hearing anything from the federal contractors, but we heard oral arguments that were presented in front of the court, and which were generally fucking useless, but I did listen to them. Okay, and it was very interesting. First up, they had the private industry mandates, the ones anybody who, works for a company who employs more than 100 people, not for any specific reason why they have that 100 people. They just kind of figured that though if you just focus in on that specifically, the 100 mark, that there would be enough administrative capacity in order to, properly look after the people who have the jab, okay, or who don't have the jab, and they would have to be forced to wear a mask and then be tested weekly on their own dime, of course, over and over and over again, in perpetuity, forever, who really knows. And then after that, okay, it was about, a couple hours they heard of that case there from a couple of different lawyers, and then the Solicitor General herself came down and was carrying the shit out of the government's position, which is, of course, what she's supposed to do, and did it admirably. And then the second half of it was for the CMS side of things, okay, for the healthcare provider side, and they were arguing that, we don't have any sort of exemption here, no religious exemption, no medical exemption here, okay, and you know what, the turnover, and then forcing people out of their job for zero reason whatsoever, okay, that's going to affect, okay, there are some institutions, like you have the Mayo Clinic last week, some point in time, had to fire 700 fucking people from there, okay, and there are big places like the Mayo Clinic, okay, like the big one in Minneapolis, okay, and then you have New York City. If they end up dropping 1, 2, 3% of healthcare workers, they can kind of piece stuff together, but we'll be talking about New York City here very shortly, because they have something quite funny, but we're going to be focusing in on the Supreme Court's oral arguments and some of the different questions and some of the different perspectives that came up from the different justices that were on there. But for the most part, when you got the rural districts, okay, that still get covered by this blanket policy instead of just leaving this shit up to the states, because that's within the prerogative of the states, and that's what was argued throughout both of the different positions taken, or rather of the two different challenges that were made. We'll leave it to the states. States can fucking figure out what the hell to do, and it's like, I don't like it, but that's fine, and that's the more legally tenable position, okay? So going into this, all of the justices, okay, they were arguing, the different lawyers, okay, from the government and from the smaller governments challenging the mandates or trying to keep the stays in place. It's very complicated and it's very annoying. They had their positions that they presented, and they had their opening statements, and everybody performed admirably. I think there were 6 or 7 different speakers throughout the entire time that I was listening in, and they were all, this is high level shit, okay, everybody has everything all figured out, and even the justices there, they had all of their questions. You can kind of tell which way everybody was kind of leaning, right? And it's like, this is all going to come down on party lines, okay? Don't anticipate it anything differently. It's just kind of a question which way Roberts and Kavanaugh are going to go. Those are the only ones that was really kind of questioning on, okay? Kavanaugh does seem like he's going to side with the rest of the justices, and I don't have anything memorable about him whatsoever. He was just asking a bunch of follow-up questions after Neil Gorsuch, who just kind of took a flamethrower to a bunch of things alongside Alito as well, but we don't have anything specific on Alito, but he was really great there. And Clarence Thomas, there should be a petition in the Supreme Court where he has to read everybody's argument, because that dude has just velvety smooth voice, as opposed to the liberal justices that were up there. And Elena Kagan, that fucking fat-necked moron, whatever she warbles out, it's the dumbest shit fucking imaginable. And Stephen Breyer is 80 years old and should just give it up already. Okay, we've got almost 300, almost 750,000 cases. New York Times op-ed I read, and that's where I get all my opinions from. Sounds like a fucking East Coast turkey, that stupid old cunt. But fuck him. He's just about done and dusted, and this will be the last major fucking decision he has to lend his name to, so whatever. No, we got 3 different justices here with very, very interesting things that they brought up during this. But first, for a big old overview, enough preambling to start off. The Supreme Court appears to be skeptical of the Biden administration's bold claim that its authority to impose vaccination mandates applying to more than 84 million private sector employees and to workers in the federally funded healthcare facilities. It's interesting, right? I think whenever the decision does come down, and that's kind of what I was anticipating here today, I figured we'd be talking about the decision that they were going to make. So again, I'll just tee it up and probably fucking talk about it again tomorrow because that's how this shit is working, okay? The Senate and the House of Representatives starting to slowly fill back up again. Okay, they took like a month and a half off for fucking vacation. So whatever, maybe we'll get some news coming up because it's been a slow couple of weeks if you haven't really fucking noticed. But anyways, I'd imagine we're going to be getting something on this because, the mandate is supposed to be taking place today. Might be coming in, I don't even know, maybe by the time that this video gets posted, but whatever. In a rare Friday sitting on January 7th, the High Court seemed broadly receptive to the idea that the states had the authority to impose vaccination mandates. They'd be better positioned to. Whether or not they'd be allowed to legally is a different question, and not one for the Supreme Court to decide, at least at this junction, okay? But question the ability of federal agencies to do the same. The court decided on December 22nd to fast-track emergency application pertaining to the challenges to the lawfulness of the two mandates. And yeah, they were finally heard today. The private sector worker mandate, which imposes penalties on employees of up to $14,000 per violation, isn't currently stayed by any court, while the healthcare worker mandate has been frozen by lower courts. Yeah, like 26 states have it either stayed or it's in place for them, but it's about half of the states, okay, give or take. So they need to fucking figure out what the hell they're doing, okay? Because when it comes to the healthcare provider side of this, most of it is just, okay, if you guys don't abide by this vaccine mandate that Biden puts out, you're not going to be getting any Medicare funding, okay? You're going to be having all of your federal funding taken away if you don't jab everybody up. So it's not really a mandate. You have a choice, of course. And that's what stupid Kagan and Sotomayor were saying. This is not, that's what Fatneck was talking about. Oh, this is not a vaccine mandate. There's a choice. Yeah, you just have to wear your little fucking yellow star badge. Oh, I'm sorry, your little face mask, and then you need to constantly get a fucking swab shoved up your fucking nose every week. Yeah, you definitely got yourself a choice there, and it's definitely not invasive, okay? It's definitely not the government enforcing and mandating that you partake in fucking medical procedures consistently, okay? Whether it's getting the jab and whether it's getting a booster or whether it's getting a fucking cotton swab stuffed up whatever orifice the federal government tells you to. Doesn't really seem fair now, does it? It doesn't really seem too terribly legal, but that's for the court to come down on. In the first case, National Federation of Independent Businesses versus the Department of Labor concerns the Biden administration's attempt to use OSHA, to force vaccines on the private industry. And let's pause. The mandate begins taking effect today, okay, which we don't know what the fate of that will ultimately be. In the second case, Biden v. Missouri, the federal government seeks to lift lower court stays that are blocking it from its enforcement by the Department of Health and Human Services requiring a vaccination, and there's no exceptions on this one, by the way, for more than 10 million employees at the healthcare facilities that participate in Medicare and Medicaid programs, which are basically all of them. During oral arguments, ladies, on the private sector mandate, Chief Justice John Roberts, who was not bad, okay? Like, he's the biggest rhino there is in government, okay? And that's a big fucking statement, but I'll back that up because he makes dumb fucking decisions. He was asking some very pointed questions, so I'm not too sure where he lines up. Everybody else, it just kind of fucking makes sense based on their a line of argumentation where they're going to fall. It's like the three liberals are going to fall where they are, okay? And then the three conservatives, Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, they're going to fall where they might. Barrett seems to be on the side of the conservatives, but we'll have to see because there's those three in the middle, the Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Roberts, who all come from the same fucking law firm, okay? If you guys aren't familiar with that, John Roberts, the reason why he got appointed by George W. Bush is because he was lead counsel during all of the election challenges in 2000, okay? And then Kavanaugh and Barrett clerked for him during that time, so it's a big incestuous family, and you ain't in it. Unless, you're down for that type of stuff. But yeah, like I said here, Chief Justice Roberts said the federal government may be overreaching. The executive branch is attempting to cover the waterfront by imposing COVID-19 policies on the population at large instead of leaving the matter to Congress. According to Roberts, they've had 2 years to fucking figure this stuff out, and yet still they're trying to use emergency language. And that's something that Barrett touches on, but we'll get to her in a minute. This has been referred to as a workaround, he said. That is something that the federal government has done before, right? Mandate vaccine coverage. Oh, has never done before. Sorry, yeah, my mistake. And we're going to see that as another common theme during these oral arguments, and the fact that common errors like this, easily rectifiable errors, are made by these people, and they are the most influential group of people. It's fucking astounding, really. Justice Neil Gorsuch said health regulations normally fall on the states. Yeah, okay. So a little bit about what he said before we go into a lot more of a full-blown look as to what he was talking about. If there is any ambiguity, why isn't the major question that therefore belongs to the people's representation of the states and in the halls of Congress? Good question, Neil. He noted that that OSHA was created 50 years ago and doesn't address this question. Yup, and you look at the language that's in the specific OSHA Act, which was constantly brought up over and over and over again by the Solicitor General. Vaccine, the word vaccine doesn't appear anywhere in there, okay? And vaccination or immunization only appears once in a throwaway line, so whatever. OSHA's economy-wide one-size-fits-all mandate covering 84 million Americans is not a necessary, indispensable use of OSHA's extraordinary emergency powers, which this court has recognized as narrowly circumscribed. NFIB attorney Scott Keller said. Okay, Keller also noted just 3 days ago the U.S. Postal Service told OSHA that the mandate requirements so burdensome for employees that the federal government is now seeking an exemption from its own mandate for the Postal Service and Amtrak as well. For the exact same reasons. It's like, what the fuck are we doing this? This is retarded. But yeah, oh yeah, here's some morables from Fatneck. Said federal agencies have expertise in disease management. Why isn't this necessary to abate a grave risk? Can you quantify what grave risk is? Because I don't think the COOF really qualifies. But then again, I'm not a Supreme Court justice with a fucking New York Times subscription, okay? So I don't get propagandized all that often. This is a pandemic in which nearly 1 million people have died. Yeah, and if you keep track of shit long enough, eventually 1 million people are going to die. But if you want to get to higher numbers quickly, how about do obesity? How about do heart disease? How about do car accidents, okay? It is by far the greatest public health danger that this country has faced in the last century. Nope. Diabetes, heart disease, obesity, all of that stuff. How about that? More and more people are dying every day. More and more people are getting sick every day. Then you know what? Everybody should just stay home. Everybody should eat healthy. Okay, the federal government should just mandate cardiovascular exercise and a proper diet regimen. Okay, they should do that if they're actually looking after your health and safety. But they aren't. They don't care. This is about compliance, and they're all too stupid to fucking realize. So at least 3 of them are. Ohio Solicitor General Benjamin M. Flowers told the court that OSHA went about creating the mandate backwards. OSHA typically identifies a workplace danger and then regulates it. Yeah, but here the president decided to regulate a danger and then told OSHA to find a workplace-related basis for doing so. Yeah, that they keep on just going from institution to institution instead of just saying, yeah, everybody's getting fucking jabs in their arms, like it or not. They're just trying to find little scapegoats in order to enforce what they're too chicken shit to actually do. Anyways, yeah, he created a blunderbuss rule nationwide in scope that requires the same thing of all covered employees, regardless of any other steps they've taken to protect employees, regardless of the nature of their workplaces, regardless of their employees' risk factors, and regardless of local conditions, and state and local officials are far better positioned to understand and accommodate. Yeah, exactly. Okay. But again, I'm not for anybody telling you or me or anybody else what they have to do with their body, what needs to be enforced onto them in order to keep everybody safe, especially from something like this. But okay, a couple of justices that I'd like to spotlight. Okay, first and foremost, Neil Gorsuch, who I think once eventually, Thomas, unfortunately, there will come a day, unfortunately, well, he won't be a Supreme Court justice any longer, and I just loathe that day, and hopefully it's far off into the future. I want him to be around for fucking ever, because the dude is great. And the same with Alito, okay, but it looks like at least the conservative voice, okay, at least the one who is down with the proper interpretation of the written word of the Constitution, is in good hands with Gorsuch, okay? That is one of the three appointees that Trump made who's a really solid dude, okay? Keeping the seat that he filled from Antonin Scalia nice and warm and appropriately so. But yeah, man, he was asking some good questions out there. He was asking some spicy questions. So, the Supreme Court has updated its official transcript of court proceedings that took place last week, clarifying that Justice Neil Gorsuch did not make a false claim about the flu. You know where we're going, more than likely. The nation's top court heard oral arguments on Friday for and against two Biden administration COVID-19 vaccine mandates going into the third year of an emergency situation, including one promulgated against every business with more than 100 workers by the Department of Labor's OSHA. I'm not reading that shit out again. Gorsuch, a Trump nominee, and the only one that came from Trump. The rest of them, for various reasons, were appointed for him. Not taking him off the hook, just, you know what, laying it out as it is. During questioning by the Solicitor General, Elizabeth Preligar, whatever, said that polio was a terrible scourge on this country for many years. He's making a very, very good point here. But the federal government has never mandated for its workers through OSHA. Talking about vaccines, by the way, never mandated vaccines through OSHA. Okay. We have flu vaccines. The flu kills, I believe, hundreds of thousands of people every year. OSHA has never purported to regulate it on that basis. Yeah, wonder why. All of a sudden things change, huh? Whoa, what do we make of that when we're thinking about what qualifies as a major question and what doesn't, referring to who regulates the enforcement of these different health precautions, okay? Critics noted that hundreds of thousands of people are not killed by the flu every year, but some people noted that Gorsuch had not appeared to say of. Supreme Court on Monday quietly updated the transcript with Gorsuch being quoted now saying the flu kills, I believe, hundreds of thousands of people every year. Dude, that wasn't as bad as when fucking Breyer was saying that 750 million people ended up dying of, or rather there were 750 million new cases just yesterday. So you take one, you take another, and that's what you end up getting. Several news outlets had reported that Gorsuch was falsely saying hundreds of thousands of people die annually from the flu. Corrected their stories, including Newsweek, after the clarification. No shit. It's almost like somebody should listen to that, and they wouldn't just take away the fucking headline interpretation of events. It's not that hard. They were broadcast live, okay, so I don't know what your problem is. I listened to it twice, but whatever. I'm a very exciting person. During the arguments on Friday, multiple justices promoted misinformation about the coup, including Justices Sotomayor, who is, okay, of the three liberal justices that are up there, she was the most tolerable, but that's still a 2 up from 2 1s. Like, she's fine, okay? She's smart-ish, and she's in the best physical shape, so take that for what you will. She was making some spicy claims, which I had to stop a couple of different times, because when I was listening to this, I was shoveling some snow, because there was a lot of it over the weekend. I just had to stop there and think to myself, it's like, did somebody with a 90 IQ in one of the 9 most influential positions in the free fucking world actually say something that's retarded? Well, she did. Still, I hold true to the fact that she, of the three, is the brightest that's up there, at least at this point in time. I can't speak to what Breyer was 20 years ago. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor inaccurately claimed that over 100,000 children are in serious condition, and on ventilators. She said that. She said that in all earnesty, okay? Not that there's a possibility, not that that has happened, not in totality since the beginning of this shit, that right now, over 100,000 kids are in hospital, hooked up to fucking vents. What are you talking about? You're just wrong. You're wrong. Sotomayor made the remarks on January 7th while hearing lawsuits. Yep, we have hospitals that are almost at full capacity while people severely ill on ventilators. We have over 100,000 children which we've never had before in serious condition, many on ventilators. Yeah. However, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, when Sotomayor made those claims, fewer than 83,000 children aged 17 and younger have been hospitalized with the coup since August of 2020. So fewer than 83,000 legal children have been hospitalized in totality since August 2020. Like over a year of data, over a year of data, and even you had Fauci coming out saying, and Rochelle Walensky not that long ago. Okay, I don't even have to paraphrase. Currently, about 3,342 children are hospitalized with COVID-19. Federal data shows some officials, including White House advisor Fauci, recently said, and Rochelle Walensky, okay, the director of the CDC, recently said that it is important to note that many of the children are hospitalized with COVID-19, not because COVID-19. So yeah, these are the headlines that make it to the Supreme Court, and that's what they've run with. Okay, there's so many people in the serious condition. We need to stop all of this, and somehow mandating vaccines is going to magically make this all go away. Okay. Thank God there's only 3 of you that are up there. And yeah, I'm pretty hard on ACB. I think that she's a establishment hack, but when you ask a good question, you ask good questions. So when does this emergency end? Good question. Very good question. Justice Barrett asks on behalf of the American people. Yeah. So when does this emergency end? Justice Amy Coney Barrett asked Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar, who looks exactly the way that she sounds. And I'll let you interpret that as you might. In the case of a National Federation of Independent Business versus the Department of Labor on Friday. She was representing the government's case where one life lost is too many, therefore just lock up unvaccinated like they're just feral animals. If there is a key question as to as we enter the 3rd year of a pandemic, that's a sad truth. Okay, that has seen the upending of our economy, our education system, our public and personal lives. When does the emergency end? Prelogar was arguing the case on the vaccine mandates on behalf of the Biden administration, which is her job, okay, and which is a laudable position to have, which is one that I know I couldn't do because, wow, simping for the government on the dole? Yeah, I couldn't do that. Especially for a Canadian government. The emergency temporary standard claimed by Biden and OSHA was not enacted at the outset of the emergency, or even a year into that emergency, or even as soon as Biden stepped into the White House and began issuing executive orders overturning every Trump order he think that he could. Yeah, the emergency was claimed 9 months after that, by which time the emergency wasn't the pandemic, but the refusal of the Americans to take the vaccine. Yeah. And that's what OSHA's arguing in this. It's such a dire position that we need to start regulating this right now, because if we don't, more people are going to get sick. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So why do you have to sacrifice people's jobs and their livelihood? Why is that in the purview? Okay. Why do you have to regulate something at the workplace that you take with you everywhere? Because vaccines happen, okay, at the workplace, and then they don't stop at the fucking business's door, okay? They go with you everywhere, okay? And if this was a disease that you could only catch at the workplace, you'd have a little bit more leeway, okay? Or if this is something that's like, okay, you can be vaccinated as soon as you walk in, like a safety vest, okay? I don't think too many people walk around, in their daily lives still wearing their safety vest or their hard hat once they leave, but I could think of at least 3 people in black robes that should be wearing hard hats at all times, but I digress. That's not the case, okay? But that's what they're trying to say, okay? OSHA has jurisdiction over the American people because this is the most recent branch of the government that we can try to use as the enforcement arm. We can continue to go on to more places, but now that the Supreme Court has picked this up, okay, once they rule on it, eventually, don't know when, they have their own timeline, they can work on whenever they want. But Breyer was also talking about, I'm pretty sure it was Breyer, he was talking about an administrative stay to put in place, okay, to stay the enforcement of the order while they figure out what the fuck is going on, because they have hundreds of thousands of pages of documents that poor clerks are going to end up having to go through and then just summarize for these idiots. But once they come down, once they figure this shit out, which most of them already have their minds made up, so now it's just a little bit of bickering at this point to see which way Justice Roberts wants to fall. Oh, I'm being one of those enlightened centrists, and I'm just going to side with the liberals. Cool, bro. But we'll see. It's probably going to be 5-4. Just don't know which way that 5-4 is going to go, because Kavanaugh could be one of those swings, but don't anticipate the Supreme Court doing anything too terribly drastic because, yeah, they just want to make, little changes. They don't want to rock the boat too much. Well, 3 of them do. 3 of them from both sides. So we'll see where this goes. Next time we talk about it, it'll be about the decision that they make or the announcement of a decision that they're going to make a decision in the near future with another stay or some shit like that. But anyways, now we're going to go into more specific COOF-related topics, okay? And a couple of specific areas because they're just not reconciling reality. And it really does suck to suck, I guess. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.